What's up, guys? Welcome to another UFC Quick Picks here on the Mayo Media Network. We have UFC Vegas, Fiziev versus Gamrot in the main event. 11 fights on this slate. Should be a pretty fun card. I'm going to give you my favorite DraftKings cash game play, tournament play, salary play, and a matchup I like this week. As usual, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and why don't you comment below. Give me your best underdog. I kind of like rolling that question out there because, we got 11 dogs on this slate. If you can correctly identify someone who's going to score well, that's going to really separate you from the field. We'll talk about a couple that I like this week. Without further ado, let's get into my cash game play of the week, which is going to be Jacob Malkoun at 9.5K. I like Malkoun this week. He is the biggest favorite on the board at minus 578. Also the biggest, the highest price fighter on the board, 9.5K. I think he's a pretty clear standout, though. I think you got to play him in cash games against Cody Brundage this week. Malkoun is just a very consistent, solid wrestler who's averaging 7.4 takedowns landed per 15 minutes. He's won his 3 UFC fights have all come by decision, but that doesn't mean he's coming up with bad scores. 131, 129, and 115. So this is a guy who doesn't need to win inside the distance to smash on DraftKings. He actually has a plus 115 inside the distance line in this matchup, which kind of, potentially gives him an even higher floor and ceiling than usual. But this is a fighter who, if he just goes out there, wrestles for 3 rounds, he's going to put up a very good score. I like him in tournaments, but I think he's very, very safe for cash games as well. Against Cody Brundage, who has looked really poor lately. I mean, just his metrics are really bad. 1.7 strikes landed per minute, 2.1 absorbed. He does average a couple takedowns per 15 minutes, 73% takedown defense. But he's just jumping guillotines when he shouldn't. He just lost to Cedric Dumas, and he gave up 11 minutes of control time. That is just so poor. Doesn't seem to have the cardio to go 15 minutes. So I think Brundage has maybe a shot at an early knockout. Malkoun's been hurt before. Maybe he can jump on a takedown early, but I don't see Brundage having a lot of success over 3 rounds. Once he gets a little bit tired, Malkoun should take over this fight, land takedowns, earn control, and probably put up a decisive win, and hopefully a pretty strong score at 9.5K. Moving on to my tournament play of the week, I'm rolling out Charles Jourdain at 8.3K in what I think is going to be a pretty good matchup there against Ricardo Ramos. Jourdain minus 130. I do like Ramos as well for wrestling upside because the one area where Jourdain has question marks is in his defensive wrestling, and I think if Ramos wrestles with urgency, he could have success and put up a very strong score on DraftKings. Ramos is just very inconsistent. He doesn't shoot takedowns at a high rate always. In fact, a lot of the times he chooses to strike. And if this fight plays out in the feet, I think Jourdain has a pretty significant advantage. Jourdain is a very high volume striker, 5.78 strikes landed per minute. He tends to build in fights, so the longer the fight goes, the more strikes he lands and the higher the pace is. And Ramos has lost by knockout twice, and he's looked kind of breakable in that sense where I don't know that I trust him to take a lot of damage and just keep marching forward. And so if this fight is playing out on the feet and Jourdain is building and pushing a pace and Ramos is starting to slow down, I definitely think a knockout is in play for Jourdain this week. He might be a popular tournament target at 8.3K, but it's just a good price to pay. Minus 130 to win, plus 165 to win inside the distance. You may need that finish from Jourdain to be optimal, but he scored 93 points in a decision in his last time out against Kron Gracie without a knockdown or a takedown. So he has a pretty high floor and, again, a moderate ceiling. We're definitely hoping for a knockout from Jourdain if he wins that fight. Don't completely forget about Ricardo Ramos and his wrestling upside as well. All right, next up, my salary play of the week. I'm going to choose, do I dare, Jake Collier at 7.8K as the underdog here against Muhammad Usman, plus 117 to win. And the downside is that Usman just controls Collier, takes him down, holds him down, which is fine. If that happens, that's fine. I will have exposure to Usman as well. But I think Collier might have a significant advantage if this fight plays out on the feet. I mean, Muhammad Usman has not looked great, but he's 2-0 in the UFC, coming off a decision win against Junior Tafa in which he landed 7 significant strikes and 2 at distance. And that's because the fight pretty much played out on the ground. Usman earned 12 minutes of control, but even with that, Tafa was hurting Usman, was threatening him, and Collier has issues. Collier has cardio issues. He hasn't looked good recently, and that's a big concern here. But he's via social media seems to be in better shape than in the past. He lands strikes at a very high rate, 5.81 significant strikes landed per minute. I mean, he arguably beat Andrei Arlovsky. He arguably beat Carlos Felipe. He's gone the distance, and he's landing 120 plus significant strikes, 90 plus significant strikes pretty consistently. And I just do not think Muhammad Usman can match that pace. So if this fight does play out in the feet, if Collier can defend takedowns for a little bit, keep this fight at range, he's got the superior volume here. And I think he probably has knockout upside as well. He's plus 220 to win inside the distance, which is a decent number for 7.8K. You know, coming off 3 losses in a row, I don't think the public's going to be that excited to play him. And so he's hopefully a little bit sneaky in that regard. I think it's another decent matchup to target in the mid-range, and I think this is a decent buyback spot on Collier at 7.8K for his striking advantages with some knockout equity. All right, finally, a matchup I like on this slate. I've already talked about a few. Here's another one. Andre Fiallo versus Tim Means. Fiallo 8.9K, Means 7.3K. Fiallo is a little bit surprisingly the favorite at minus 166, Means plus 143. Give me the value on Tim Means. He's going to be my pick to win here, mostly because I just don't rate Fiallo very highly. He has early knockout upside, but he has poor cardio, poor durability. He's been knocked out 3 times in a row. Poor grappling. And Tim Means is aging, nearing 40 years old. I don't fully trust him, but this guy is very experienced. He's gone the distance many times. He might have an advantage over 15 minutes. He might have an advantage in cardio. He might have an advantage in durability. And he probably has an advantage in grappling. So at 7.3K, Means is just too cheap, I think, especially considering his opponent has been knocked out a few times in a row. There's finishing equity here for Means in a win. Plus 325 to win inside the distance. I think he projects well in a win. I'll be targeting him pretty aggressively. At the same time, if Fiallo wins this fight, I think it's by early knockout. He doesn't really have much win equity outside of that. 2 wins in 6 fights in the UFC. Both have come by first round knockout. Both scored well over 100 points. And he has the best inside distance line on this slate, minus 135 inside the distance. He'll get some love, but coming off 3 knockout losses in a row, I don't know that he's going to be that popular. So he's a pretty decent buyback spot as well. Given the metrics, the price is expensive, but hopefully that keeps people away. I do like Means. I'm picking Means to win, but I like the upside in Andre Fiallo. The fight's minus 260 to end inside the distance. I think it's one of the better matchups to target on this slate. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week's UFC Quick Picks. Thank you so much for the support. You can follow me on Twitter, Appley, TTP, dailyfanmma.com for all your DraftKings breakdowns needs. Best of luck this week. Stay safe out there, and we will talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.